So this brings us to the longest song on the record, and I always feel like towards the end. I mean, I love, not to bring it back to the Metallica thing again, but I love how Metallica would do like the second to last track would be a really long instrumental, and then the last track would be like another, going super hard, punishing track. So I appreciate the second to last song being the longest one on here, which at over 4 minutes is like, that's like a 10-minute song for you guys. Right. So let's start talking musically about this Summer Sorrow, and then jump into the lyrics a little bit. And by the way, thanks for indulging me on this whole thing. I love doing these track by tracks because I love really digging in. I know it's kind of a slog compared to most interviews, but yeah, I love it. And there's not that many opportunities to do it. You guys will have plenty more chances to talk about how the tour is going and what it's like being on your label. And
no, I've enjoyed this. It's fun.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the Summer Sorrow, the musical side. Who wants to take that?
So I'll start, and then I could pass it off to Tyler, because we both had a big hand in this one musically. I mean, the whole band did, but years ago when we put out our double 7 inches, when we were, it was just me, Justin, I wrote this Summer Sorrow, and I just wanted something that was pretty and was also really somber and just made you feel sad, like just a sense of melancholy. And that's always been a very big track for us, live, and also, people just like that song generally. And just how we did the electronic tracks, and we have, the really heavy songs and the songs that are more on the melodic side. We wanted something that was like, kind of just, going into a different lane, but still staying in the general scope of what we were envisioning for the record. And, the chords that I used, that I had written for this Summer Sorrow 1, the first one, there was so much more that could be done with it. And so, Tyler came in, and, he had this progression, and we were just like, oh, okay, let's do it. And, working with Isaac, we just laid it out perfectly, and the song has a little bit of punch to it, but it also has a lot of that just, emotional side to it that makes you, it pulls you in. It pulls you in, and the song, while it's really long, especially for a wristmeetrazor song, it it keeps your attention the entire time, and it's personally one of my favorites on this record.
Sick. Tyler, let's hear your side of that a little bit too.
Where I start? So, like Jonah said, I kind of like brought up the idea of kind of like bringing back like the Summer Sorrow like theme. Obviously the record is very experimental, trying to push like not our new song, but like trying different things and creating something out of it. So I thought it would be really cool to kind of have like a call back to like kind of like the origins of the band, because I joined in like 2019. My first tour with all of them was also in 2019. But yeah, we played that song live. I really liked it, and I always thought like there could have been not so much more, but like it would be cool to have like another song that's kind of like based off of that and do like a lot more with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And then lyrically, Justin, does it tie into earlier stuff? Where did you jump off from on the lyrical side?
So I wrote the lyrics to the first Summer Sorrow at a really interesting time. I think when I had written, like I actually do remember writing the exact lyrics to this Summer Sorrow, and I was, I guess, technically homeless at that time, and I wrote it in a subway parking lot. on an Android phone or something like that. And so I just thought it was a cool song. Like I just wanted to do it as much as we possibly could because it was just a cool song that I thought was interesting. So for this one, I felt like the only true way to do a sequel to a track like that would be to kind of give it its own personality. So I didn't want it to follow too much of what the other one did, because we matched the key pretty well. I think the keys in these two songs are just, you can listen to them back to back and hear exactly how similar they are, but they're very similar. So I wanted that to be the commonality between the two, not the lyrics per se. So the lyrics delve off into a little bit different area, but they have the same kind of idea of a sequel, because I think every good sequel needs a callback, and so the end of the song is a callback to the first one. But the lyrics are a little different, and actually, since we're here, I would say this, ironically enough, is probably the most controversial track on the whole record, because the song title references Dr. Seuss, who's the most controversial figure in the world. So that's the waiting place is a Dr. Seuss reference, actually.
Yeah. I love, by the way, that we are not only canceling people who are long dead, but canceling people for things that were on the public record.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as though John Wayne views were unearthed from some secret tape. Like,
right,
that was an interview he did in a huge magazine that was published back then.
And we've known Dr. Seuss's whole thing, Walt Disney's thing, and the reasons why they were kind of the way they were. But yeah, no, for this song though, I love the concept of the waiting place, and I've always really liked it. And I thought that's maybe one of the darkest kind of elements of a children's book that I've ever read. And I felt like there's a kind of hyper realism towards some of the things that happen in children's books that almost prep you as a child for death. And
for sure. And I think that they serve that function in many cases on purpose. You know,
right.
And fairy tales and myth and
right.
Sure. Yeah.
And the waiting place is essentially purgatory. It's Dr. Seuss's purgatory. It's a place that you're constantly waiting for something that never comes. And so the song essentially is the same thing. I had that kind of commonality with a person who also found that very interesting, and we shared the waiting place thing, which is an eternal purgatory, and that's what the song's about essentially, is being stuck in this eternal purgatory and hoping that everyone who gets out of it dies. That's what the song is about.
How uplifting.
Yes. Very positive song.
Heaven forbid that people find out the political views of H.P. Lovecraft, as certain political factions are wandering into certain other realms. It's
right.
Fun and tragic to watch them stumble and fall. And yeah, great sequels. I mean, Aliens and Alien are two very different movies, and yet both great. That's how you make a good part two.